Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be covering 7-cent hex. Now what? So leave a thumbs up if you enjoy this kind of quantitative and technical hybrid analysis on hex. Be subscribed by the end of the video if you aren't by now. And let's go ahead and talk about a few things that come after 7-cent hex. So if you've been watching the channel for even just a week, you know we've been talking about this for a long time, for probably the entirety of this reaccumulation cycle over here. This, again, falling wedge or ascending triangle, call it what you wish. If you've been following since then, you know we've been waiting for this move, right? We've been waiting for a break of, once again, just a quick review. You could have subscribed to the falling wedge formation. And there are plenty of ways you can draw the bottoms of this, but something more or less like this, right? Could have subscribed to that. And again, at that point, I was saying 6 pennies was the level to break and hold before we start heading up higher. And if you subscribed to this idea, then you'd pretty much place the length of the flagpole at the point of breakout, which gives us a target of approximately 11.4 cents. Now, you could have also placed it at the point of breakout if you thought this was an ascending triangle, something that looks more like this, right? Flat top as opposed to a falling top, but it's the same bullish formation, only difference being the breakout is slightly higher, so your target is slightly higher, so something closer to 12 cents rather than 11.5 cents. You see this here is at like 11.8 cents. So 11 to 12 cents was our technical target. We've said so many times on this channel that HEX twice has formed bullish formations and then doubled the technical target, specifically the September through October of 2020 ascending triangle, as well as the February through May of 2021 bull flag. This one right here, which doubled our 3 penny target up to 6 pennies. And so if our technical targets are 11 or 12 cents, then we could be seeing 22 to 24 cents if we repeat history, which is not guaranteed, but it's significant nonetheless that it has happened twice before, in my opinion. And so 7-cent hex, now what? Technical target's 11 or 12 cents. And we've been, like I said, we've been waiting for this. If you've been watching this channel, we've been waiting for this. We had a video saying decision time, it's go time. We're breaking, our volatility is low, and something has to happen, right? And lo and behold, we broke above it, and here we are now sitting at 7.5 cents. So let's go ahead and look at some of the LookIntoHex charts at LookIntoHex.com. Our regression rainbow looks quite nice. If we look at the equidistant model, this is what that looks like. But I've grown to like the Fibonacci model quite a bit recently, specifically because of the fractal that's playing out nicely, and the way price action is interacting with these lines is just absolutely unreal. Bounced off of the red. Mind you, this is after the fit. We fit it. Just the latest data we included was this data over here around day, mid 400s. And we bounced right off the red, came right to the yellow, consolidating around the orange, and a nice bounce off the orange currently. So things look really good in my opinion. Yellow is currently sitting at around 10 cents. Green more so at 15 cents. Our cyan curve is sitting closer to 20 cents. And our purple curve is sitting closer to the 39, almost 40 cent region. And our pink curve is approaching $1 in about July. So if things get heated, those are certain levels, depending on how bullish you get. I've argued that maybe we reach the purple band at the highest because this is an exponential fit, right? And it's not only is it hard to maintain exponential price performance, but maintaining the same level of extension above that on a second bubble would just be absolutely insane. So I've said, okay, if we bring you back a little to sanity, which again, anything can happen, but I'm saying just a little more conservative and then be pleasantly surprised if it overperforms, puts us at something like 45 cents in July. If we're to have some sort of manic bubble, once again, like we saw back here, when we consolidated around this yellow, line, and then we popped off and blasted through 1, 2, 3, and pretty much added 4 lines here. If the same thing happened, again, we would be reaching the purple, which is approximately 40 to 50 cents if we get there as soon as July, and then it increases up until the end of the year at around $4, which is absolutely insane. But we have a few other charts we can look at. We actually just updated our heat maps yesterday. So you can see what this current move to 7 pennies has actually done to your sort of risk metric, if you want to call it that. And I've mentioned plenty of times that I subscribe more so to this 100-day moving average heat map more so than these other ones, just because we have more data, and I find that for a statistical model, having more data is generally a good idea. And so we're still green over here, and if you actually zoom in, I got a comment recently saying I should zoom into these a little bit more because it's hard to see. If you look at where we are now, then it's actually still green. It's still green. And this leads me to believe that we could be seeing a fractal of something like this. Like I was saying, if we pop off to the purple region in the regression rainbow, it would correspond more so to these pink bubbles, potentially blue, purple, pink bubbles start appearing, then you know things are getting quite heated. And we've looked at our heat maps from a quantitative perspective, removing the color code as well. We actually saw that in yesterday's video. Check that out if you haven't already. And then I was on a stream with some of the community members recently, and one of them brought up something really interesting, that on the HEX versus BTC ROI from launch metric, that we're coming up to the point where if we keep moving up at a nice pace, we might actually never come back to this curve. Now, maybe it does come back to it later on in time, but I think if we did have some sort of run up and start seeing something like we've been talking about, these fractals playing out to the 40, 50 cents, then this curve here would move up closer to the 1000x region, and remember, this is from launch, so 1000x region from launch would actually be 10,000 from the bottom. So around here we'd be looking at around 50 cents, over here around $1 around these levels. And so we'd probably have to see some sort of either consolidation or slight bear after that to actually come back to the curve. So we could be running away from this now, right? The price of HEX could be running away from the ROI of BTC from launch on this chart for the time being. Once again, we don't know if it'll be forever, that's kind of hard to tell, or if it'll just be a temporary run where we have a nice bubble above it and then maybe come back to test it in later months or years. And on this chart, it would simply correspond to running away from this blue line, which is simply the ROI of BTC mapped to a line so we can see relative performance by removing 1 degree of noise. And so you see that we could run away from it. We've ran away in this direction, so to see something in the other direction, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe this is something like a sinusoidal wave or something. It'll be interesting to tell, especially because supply dynamics are different. And if we look at ROI from day 350 or so, big payday, when supply dynamics really changed, it's pretty much just been a steady uptrend. And this momentum is super nice. If you can see, we have our higher highs and higher lows on this chart very beautifully. Maybe you can't do traditional TA on a chart like this, but it's a ratio, and I think it's very important to look at. If you look at the HEX versus Ether, HEX versus Ether ROI from launch chart, then we are outperforming it by a lot, right? HEX is at 145x from launch, and ETH at the same time was only about 6x from launch. So outperforming by a lot. By how much? Well, you can tell here on the performance index, we are outperforming Ether on a similar time frame by about 23.56x, which is interesting because our recent peak, 25.17, our previous peak was 23.5. So we're actually, funny enough, overperforming Ether more right now, today, than we were back during this bubble right here, which is really interesting. And you can probably see it here. It's essentially saying that the gap, right, the difference between this and this, or rather the ratio, so this gap is larger than the gap from this peak to here, right? So that's pretty interesting. to be testing or approaching, flirting with all-time highs on this chart, which just tells me that HEX is outperforming Ethereum by a lot on similar time frames, to the point where we said, okay, let's make it a little more fair for Ethereum. Just, you know, if we're just being super conservative, saying, okay, what if we line up by seasons, say there's some significance to seasonality because humans, I don't know, I don't know what the argument really is there, but rather like the core argument, but sort of a surface level argument is, what if prices perform similarly on similar seasons, right? Is there some seasonality to this? Well, we lined up December 17th of 2015 for Ethereum with December 17th of 2019 for HEX, and then just ran the numbers from there, because once again, giving Ethereum, you know, some wiggle room to say, okay, well, what do you outperform or do you underperform still under this time frame? And we get something a little more fair, I guess. If I'm being real, this is way more realistic, because this is ROI from launch, right? So this is kind of a stretch, the ROI from December 17th 4-year cycle. It just looks nice because obviously you have this nice hugging and tells you, almost guides you to where the price of HEX could go, right, in the near future. So it tells us that Ethereum was, you know, 3x above where we are now, similar time frames in terms of ROI from launch. And so that would essentially put HEX at 3x from here. So 20 cents it would take to start reaching these levels on this chart. And then even if we outperformed on this chart, given Ether a head start, and say we hit 1400x from launch, which is, it's about a 10x from here. So, you know, if we hit that sooner or on the day of, which would just be kind of the end of the year, from here to here is pretty much now until the end of the year, we could be looking at, again, a 10x from here is what, 75 cents. So this region corresponds to the 20 cent region for HEX. This rally up to here corresponds to the, you know, 50, 60, 70 cent region. So things can get heated real quickly. We're in a phase right now where, again, this could be a fractal of previous expansion phases where this might not have been the actual move, the legendary move, right? It was legendary, a nice, 5x, but could something even more legendary be coming? We'll see. We'll keep you updated on the markets. Appreciate you watching. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy this kind of quantitative and technical hybrid analysis on the HEX charts. Be subscribed. Turn on the bell because we drop videos every single day, and probably some cool live streams coming up soon. I don't want to reveal too much, but that'll be really fun. Again, appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.